Have you ever played a pet simulator before, where you've had to take care of an adorable virtual pet? Now imagine that, but with murder, violence, and the feeling of someone always watching you. Sounds fun? Well, that's exactly what happens in Peppa the Giant Purple Dog. After finding a game that's been shelved since 2002, you log in to take care of this digital pet. There's only one problem. The game devs coded it so there was only one batch of food in the game. Once that ran out, the game doesn't end and Peppa only grows more hungry. As Peppa sees just how far you're willing to go to keep them alive, you start to wonder, why was this game abandoned in the first place? Why not destroy it? Also, what happened to all the people who played this game before? And who on earth is this guy? Well, we're gonna find all that out today. But before we do that, please do subscribe. It's free and you can always unsubscribe later. Subscribing is the best way to support my channel as it allows me to make more videos and helps me reach more milestones. I really want to hit 400k soon and we get closer and closer to that milestone each day. So if you could just check to see that you are subscribed, that would be great. Thank you, and back to the video. Now, I was actually lucky enough to play this demo before release, thanks to Silver City Sharks for sending me early access, and when I played it, I was immediately hooked. You see, we start the game from the perspective of Jacob Collins, who looks eerily similar to Tom Game Theory, but we're gonna assume there's no correlation. He runs a web series called Tapping Into the Truth, discovering the real reasons games were shelved or cancelled. This is how he comes across Peppa the Giant Purple Dog, a game that was set to be released in 2002, but was later shelved for no apparent reason. Brian Hagenstein, the owner of Hagenstein Games, stated that they would be a
defining pillar of the next generation of gaming.
So to make that bold of a claim and not follow through seems odd. And Jacob definitely thought so too, which is why he decided to play it himself. So he goes into a back room, loads up the oldest computer possible, and this is where we get thrown into the game. When we explore Normalville, something's a bit off. Not only do the residents have some questionable dialogue between them, but there's also the case of the gravestones. This entire area is surrounded by gravestones, not to mention the stick figure creature that stares at you every time you go near a grave, and this whole time you have Peppa watching you over the fence. Your first objective in the game is to get coins, all while not breaking eye contact with the scary stick figure. Once you collect the coins, you're given a sad storybook about a toy who, despite being the best, was never bought. And after that, you can finally buy the dog food and bring it to Peppa. This is where the game gets a bit wrong. Peppa starts talking to you, telling you the main issue with the game is the fact you only get one bag of dog food. But the game devs didn't think that far ahead and Peppa only grows hungrier, which means they're gonna have to result in eating the neighbours. Peppa gets you to change the game's code tonight and kill Oscar, the person who's been trying to warn you when starting the game. You end up having to turn Oscar into dog food and feed it to Peppa, at which point you realise this game has gotten a little too dark and try to exit out. But Peppa's not going to let you leave that easily and lunges at you through the screen. They're not done with you yet. And that's where the demo ends. So what actually happened here? Well, I wouldn't be shocked to learn that all the NPCs in the game were in fact playtesters who, once got roped in, couldn't escape. It's a fair assumption to make given how all of them react when you talk to them. The fact that all the characters look so old is likely a testament to how long they've been in this game for. There's no way for them to die except being fed to Peppa. In fact, when you talk to them in-game, their regular NPC lines, they talk about wanting to start families in Normalville, even going around parks designed for children. Except there are no children about. With all the gravestones about, it would make sense that each of the playtesters had gone through the same problem. They've all ran out of dog food and they all had to sacrifice a person to get more. And if they couldn't get another person, then they would become the next victim. Makes sense, right? Also, it brings into question their mortality. These people are the equivalent of corpses, only being kept alive for food. The fact that the birds circling the town is similar to vultures circling corpses is also a clear sign of that. When Oscar dies, he accepts it quickly, which is pretty abnormal when threatening someone in a bathroom with an axe. These characters have accepted the fact that they are just walking corpses under the surveillance of Peppa. They are constantly commenting on how Peppa is so big they can see over the fence, and it makes sense given how the dog's eyes follow you everywhere you go. There's no escaping Peppa's stare. It makes you wonder, what actually is Peppa? In the game, a lot of people are confused about Peppa's gender. A lot of them assuming the dog to be a girl, but when we talk to Peppa, they sound a lot more masculine. Now, this could be because the dog's name is Peppa, and that's pretty unisex, or the fact that the dog's purple. But it might also be referencing that Peppa isn't who they were originally. As well as in the puzzle game, when we see Peppa was originally a pit bull that slowly morphed into something else. I believe that Peppa was originally based on the owner's dog, but in an effort to improve the game, they slowly changed Peppa into something they weren't before. Brian was convinced that this game would revolutionize gaming. I wouldn't be too surprised if that meant bringing Peppa to life, making them more real than any other regular game. It's not like pet simulators were particularly hard to find back then. Tamagotchi already had their big release in 1996, Neopets was released in 1999, and dogs came out in 2005, just 3 years after Peppa would've. My point is, Peppa would've had to be something extraordinary to stand out in this market. So what if that defining trait was the fact that Peppa could feel everything you were doing? Sometimes pet games would implement consequences for you not feeding or attending to your pet, which I understand was to teach responsibility to kids to prepare them to get an actual pet, but it still felt awful if you just forgot for one day and now they're suffering. Now imagine if those pets actually felt pain. That's even more messed up. So it would make sense as to why Peppa was holding a grudge against Brian for giving them feelings of hunger, and even for shelving the project back in 2002 when it was set to release, likely after realising what was happening when the dog food ran out. Now Peppa can only use the playtesters to do their bidding and sustain Peppa's health. So we understand why this game got shelved and what that means for Peppa. But then it comes to this question of, who is this guy? They show up when you try and collect coins for dog food and demand you look at them. At first glance, it looks like they're made out of duct tape and hair. And since they surround the graves, could this potentially be one of Peppa's victims? Is this one of the rotting corpses that used to look like any of the other NPCs? Maybe, but something irked me about the face. It looked like it was meant to resemble a skull, but it didn't really match up. The head was misshapen, it looked as if the jaw had just been torn off. And what is this? Is this meant to be a nose or a mouth? And what really made me question it was the redness of it. It didn't look like blood, or at least blood stained, but what else could it be? And then I thought back to this short story that was mentioned after we collected the coins. The story of a toy that was promised love and affection and was only ever left on the shelf. A toy who, despite having a purplish magenta tones in this book, it was clearly marked as red, just like in the game. This creature, the one that's seemingly haunting us, is Roboy, a toy that was the next new thing but was left on a shelf, forgotten about, and had somehow managed to make its way into the game. They are both the same guy. If you don't believe me, just compare the faces. Sure, the eyes look a little wider, but there's a point where the nose is the exact same on both models, as well as this would be exactly what you get if you ripped off Roboy's jaw. Come on, they are basically twinning. Something I'd originally written off as a cute storybook trying to display what we already knew about Peppa and the fact that this game had been shelved for a long time could actually be key information about this new character who got stuck in the game as well. It is interesting how both Peppa and Roboy tie themselves into themes of abandonment. They both want what was promised to them and would do anything to try and get it. However, Peppa was the result of so much suffering, so many deaths that they couldn't possibly be released to the public due to their unending hunger. As for why Brian didn't destroy it, well, he'd managed to find a way to make a virtual animal feel alive, even if living was torture for it. A constant feeling of hunger and not being able to satisfy it. He knew he couldn't release it to the public. But he couldn't throw away something he worked so hard on, so he shelved it, making sure that Peppa would never be released to the public, while cementing the fact that Peppa's victims will never find peace. There is a point to be made that the character we're playing as, Jacob Collins, dives further into the game out of pure curiosity and a want for the truth. It makes sense why he's not deterred by the strangeness of it early on. And the game doesn't throw you right into the wrongness of it. It's constantly giving you instructions and seeing how far it can push it. And by the time Peppa calls you a good boy for murdering someone, you're already in too deep. Peppa has been training you this whole time and you're following their instructions. Which made me question, is it possible that Peppa asked their latest victim to send the game to someone new? Someone who had a fan base of curious viewers who would want to try the game out for themselves? Someone like tapping into the truth's Jacob Collins. Because when you go online and you describe something as mysterious or unheard of, there's quite a few people who'd want to investigate it themselves, especially if your main audience is people who live for this kind of stuff. Could it be possible that Jacob making this video would cause more people to seek out different copies of the game, not knowing that this is all a ploy to feeding Peppa's hunger? But what do you guys think? Are we on something here? Thank you guys so much for watching. These videos are always fun for me to make, so it's great to know that you guys enjoy them as well. Thank you to my members. Once again, your support for this channel is why I can continue to make videos, and I appreciate it so much. But if you can't be a member, that's okay. I'm so thankful to everyone who's subscribed. Thank you, and I'll see you guys in the next video. Bye!